Alright, continuing our quest to conquer geometric sequences. I'm going to think through this one logically quickly. A sub 3 is 24. A sub 6 is 3. And so we're multiplying by something 3 times r, times r, times r, or by r cubed. And so 24 times r to the third power equals 3. And so r to the third power equals 1/8. And so you take the cubed root of both sides. The cubed root of 1/8 is 1/2. And so I show you this because then we could go backwards to find our first term again and use it. And so we could multiply by 2 because we're going backwards now, so that would be 48 and 96. And so we could write our equation that way and be done and done. But what if the terms weren't so close? Let's use our sixth term and our third term to write nth term equations. And remember, a sub n times r to the n minus 1 is our generic way of writing that. So, and that equals a sub n. So our sixth term is 3, so 3 equals whatever a sub 1, whatever r is, raised to the 6 minus 1. So that's 5. And 24 equals a sub 1 times r to the 3 minus 1. So 2. So what we have is a system of equations. And instead of subtracting them, we're going to divide the two. And so 3 divided by 24 is 1/8. A sub 1 divided by a sub 1, this is the whole reason we're dividing, because that cancels out to be 1. And then r to the 5th divided by r squared. There's 3 more r's on top there. And now we're to the exact same spot we were on the last one. So then take the cubed root of the r and you get 1/2. To find the 96 like we had it before, we plug it back in. So if you want to plug it back into the third term, a sub 3, 24 equals a sub 1 times 1/2 raised to the second power. So 24 a sub 1 times 1/4. And so a sub 1, if you multiply by 4 to cancel out the 1/4, is 96. And then you have your term, your nth term equation. 96 times your common ratio 1/2 to the n minus 1. And a sub 8 equals 96 times 1/2 to the 8 minus 1, or the 7th power. And that is 3/4. And you can see that too by, or I guess 0.75, depending on whichever way you want to write it. 3 times 1/2 times 1/2 again is 3/4, and that's how we get there. Alright, let's look at geometric series. If we started adding up everything, we would have a geometric series. And if we have, we're going to look at sort of how this formula is derived just so it makes sense. A sub 1, and this is kind of like our 6, and our 6 times 2, and our 6 times 2 times 2, and so on. Let's suppose that we multiplied this whole equation by r. So multiplied by r. So if you multiply a sub 1 times r, it lines up right here, times r, and everything shifts over. This is our nth term equation, a sub n. And then we get the next one up. So if we subtract the two, s minus rs, this minus this, we can factor out a sub 1 right here. We can factor out s right here. And s is standing for the sum. and then we divide by 1 minus r. And this right here is the equation that we need to know. So a sub 1 is our first term. R is common ratio. And n is the number of terms we're adding. So, first off, if we add up all of these numbers, 2 plus 4 plus, we should get 126. Let's just confirm that we get that with our equation. So, let's write this in sigma notation just to practice. Starting at 1, and let's use n just since we're used to n, and go to 6 because we have 6 terms, and we have the first term is 2, common ratio is 2, because you're multiplying by 2 every time, equals n minus 1. So we have our first term, 2, which is a sub 1, 1 minus our common ratio of 2, raised to the 6th power, so that's how many terms we have, 1 minus 2. So 2 times 1 minus 64 over negative 1. 2 times a negative 63 over negative 1, positive, positive. And so 2 times 63 is 126. And that's our sum. So that's how that equation works. So again, we're going to use, if we plug in 1, and actually we just did this one, so that was the 126. 2 times 1 minus 2 to the 6, 1 minus 2, 126. And continuing for this next one, I always like to double check that this is in fact my first term, because like we've been seeing, is sometimes this can be n, sometimes this can be n minus 1. So 8 times 1/4 to the 1 minus 1 power gives us 8 times 1/4 to the 0, or just 8. So that is in fact our first term. So 8 times 1 minus r, which is 1/4, over 1 minus 1/4. And I'm going to raise this 1/4 to the 10th power, because that's n. I'm going to type this all into the calculator this time. 8 times 1 minus, and instead of typing in 1/4, you can type in 0.25, or type in 1/4 in parentheses like that, raised to the 10th, divided by 1 minus 1/4, and since you can do that in our head, it's negative 3/4, you're welcome to do that as well. So that's 10.67. And this is much preferred to the actually finding the 10 terms and adding those together. And what we're going to do next is infinite geometric, and that's much preferred to actually adding them up infinitely many times. There you have it.